Okay, I have a ton of things to do today, and it is supposed to be pretty bad winter weather this weekend, which could lead to power outages and flow into next week, which would cause the kids to possibly be home from school, plus no power, which means I have to work really hard today while I can. So I am working on 3 birthday shirts, and I also have some handkerchiefs to do. I have some work apparel to do for 4 different companies, and a teacher gift, and a bridesmaid's thing, and some stockings, and some more work apparel. So come along with me and we will get going. So this one I had started yesterday. It's going to be a Winnie the Pooh shirt. It's going to be so cute. I need to switch to white, and I'm not 100% sure what it's about to stitch. So we're gonna find out together. I think it's actually the wings for the bumblebees that are on here. So that's my guess, which I think that I'm right. And then it's gonna have the number 1 with this really pretty light blue gingham. And Winnie the Pooh has already been stitched, so that's gonna get going. I've already completed this one, but I have to trim it up. So I'm going to do that now over here. And I'm going to turn this light on. Hopefully it doesn't make everything go crazy with the light. So over here, I am just taking the peel and stick stabilizer out. One of my dogs has decided to join, so he's probably in the video now. He's honestly probably up here to tell me that he's hungry because he is a high maintenance pup and he does what he wants. He eats when he wants. And we are his people that he bosses around. Just sniffing me. Okay, so I'm removing all the peel and stick extra. I'll bring this over so you can see what I'm doing exactly. So I'm taking as much of the white out as I can to debulk this so that it's not like super thick and crunchy like when the little girl goes to wear it, because that can be uncomfortable. And after I take this out, I'll trim it up and I will iron on cloud cover. So that will help, but I still like to get as much as I can out of this just to help too. So I'll go back over here and do that. And Ziggy, get up. While I am working on that though, I'm going to use my time and I'm going to start another handkerchief. Here's the first one I did to approve from my customer, and she likes it. So we're going to keep on keeping on. So I'll have to select that design again. And this we're going to stitch upside down because that's how I have it laid out on the frame. So I'm going to get it to the area where it needs to be. And boop. There are different buttons on here. There's like one with 3 arrows to the right, and that one sends you the farthest. Then there's one with 2, which is not as far, and then another one with just 1, which is like very small increments to scoot things over, which is a really nice feature of these machines when you're lining up your design. And I didn't always print out my designs, but it makes such a difference in lining things up properly that I ended up buying a toner printer so that I could not feel like I was always having to buy like ink for my printer all the time. And then it just prints in black and white. And I try and get it like the store brand to save even more money. But I'll just show you what that looks like. I showed you the other one, but I print them out like this so then I can line it up exactly where I want. And I feel like that has made quite the difference. It has improved just the way the designs line up for me. So I'm all about that. All right, I'm changing color to this like tannish gold for the bumblebees. Jordan, why aren't you using your multi-needle machine? It seems like that would be a better idea with a design that has more colors. And you would be right. That would be a better idea. However, you have to program stops for those machines if you're doing applique, which I am. So this is what this one's going to look like. I'm just watching it for a second while it gets started. Okay, that looks good. This is what this is going to look like. So inside the one is going to be the light blue gingham fabric. And I've already prepped it. So it's just kind of like waiting. And by prepping, I iron on Heat and Bond Light for my applique fabrics. And what that does is it allows it to cut easier when I'm trimming it out, and it adheres to the garment. So that's just waiting. I'll get that on. Just going to keep stitching the bumblebees. Another reason I'm not using my multi-needle is because that is my largest frame. Oops, I guess we're out of bobbin, which makes sense because I haven't changed it in a while. Nope, we're not. We're just deciding to pause, which is also fine. Recently, I got all of my machines serviced to the tune of $2,000. So that was fun. Not really, but I'm happy that they're serviced. And it does make a big difference. Like, he takes it apart and he cleans it all out and makes sure everything is working the way that it should. If you have any concerns about anything, you can look into why that might be happening. So it's good stuff. All right, so now I'm changing to black for the stripes on these bumblebees. Oops. And it's also going to stitch the one outline so that I know where to lay the fabric, which is great. So that's going to go. We keep working on getting this out. But what I was saying was my single needle machines can all do, the largest is 8x8. The multi-needle machine can do 8x12. So sometimes I'll save that machine for, those larger, even if it's just like one color or whatever, and I have to like change a bunch of colors. Like I did this one birthday shirt over the last couple days, and it was a ton of color changes. It also took 105 minutes to stitch. And part of that was because I chose to slow the machine way down. If I ran it way faster, it obviously would have reduced the stitch time. But I'll show you the shirt and you'll see why I wanted to be careful with it. It's a very dense file, and I should have cleaned it up a little bit before I saved it to my flash drive, because I do have this like density vacuum thing. But I didn't think about that. So we just did what we did, and it's still good, but it is something that I didn't want to have mess up because of how long and involved it is. So took it way slow. Like I said, lots and lots of color changes, even though I sorted them, because that's another feature I have with the embroidery software that we own. You can do what's called color sort, and it has been like a game changer in a lot of files, but in some files it still just is what it is, because it has to stitch in a sequence so that colors that are supposed to be on top of other colors get stitched at the proper time. And it's nice because the software knows that. So, all right, I'm continuing to tear this out, but I just heard that that other machine is ready for the fabric. So I'm gonna pause in a second. Boop. Okay, so now this one is ready for me to lay down the fabric. So I'm going to put it right on top. Oh, where did you go? Whoa, oh my. I think I need to charge this guy. It has been a minute since we've charged it. Okay, are you better? Okay. I'm going to lay the fabric on here, but we have to peel off. Oh, 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 oh my. Yes, I think you're dying. Okay. Oh! So my 360 video thing decided to have a little meltdown. So we are just going to film the rest of this one like this, and I'm going to charge it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to lay the applique fabric on top of the one, and this is the fabric we're going to use. It's going to be so cute, but I have to peel off this paper, and I have to cut it to make it smaller, to make it easier to work with. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you. I almost videoed myself pulling off the back to make a satisfying like ASMR little clip, but I'm glad that I didn't because it was chaotic. It did not tear properly, and it was very not satisfying. Okay, so this is way larger than it needs to be, but that's okay because I want it to like fully cover every area. So you see what I said, this is the outline. So I know that it's going to stitch the one just in a single, like in another, it's called a tack down stitch. So it's going to do the tack down stitch. Then I'm going to cut the fabric around, and I'll show you that. And then it's going to do the satin stitch, which is like the thicker. See the difference? That's really thin, and then this is thicker. So we're going to do that in just a second. I'm going to change to blue so that it's already ready to go. Okay, so I've started it off. So it's just doing, it's hard to see because the blue matches, which is what we want. But there you can see. Maybe a little closer. And that's all it's going to do is just like tack it down. So then I'm going to trim around it and then put it back on the machine. Okay, this is the reason why the heat and bond light is so important, because you can cut fabric like, well, first of all, these are my fabric only scissors, but you can cut it like it's paper because it has this structure. And if you notice, it's not fraying because it's bonded and it has that straight edge. So that is the reason why we use this, and it makes such a ginormous difference. I remember before I found out about this, I found out in like a Facebook group, and I remember before I found out about it, I was like, how come mine is fraying and like essentially pulling out? And this was when I was like first getting started, just things for the girls. Was like everything like frays out, like, and especially this gingham fabric there would be no chance to work with this. So I saw people talking about it, and I was like, I gotta try that out, and I have never looked back. So anytime I am working with fabric, I always I guess it's prepping or stabilizing it, but I guess I should say I always prep it in order to make this the way that it is. Something interesting about me, which I feel like I've shared before, is that I am actually left-handed, but I do most everything with my right hand, especially when I'm like crafting and stuff, because I don't know if you know this, if you're not left-handed, but left-handed scissors are like very hard to come by, number one, and number two, they are extremely difficult to work with, especially when you've learned as with your right hand. I like, this is different because it's basically just like a squeezing motion for these scissors, so it's different. But when I try and cut, like, I have had some, Sorry, I keep like blowing and I feel like I'm probably blowing into the mic. So now it's going to stitch the satin all around here and then his name at the bottom. So we are almost finished, but I have been able to use some left-handed scissors in my life. Sorry, I got caught on a cord. And I felt like very uncomfortable and out of control with them. So no, that's a no from me, my guy. Okay, trying to get you closer to the action. All right, so now it is going to do that satin stitch. Oops, the thread came out, so I gotta rethread that. Okay, there we go. So it does it kind of sloppy at first, but then it cleans it up. And I'm going to pause the machine and get this string. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to do this now, but since I'm here, I might as well save myself some trimming after the fact. Oh, come out. Of course, because I'm doing this while it's recording, it's being like that. There we go. So while that one is continuing to stitch, I thought I would bring you over here because the handkerchief finished. And now I've lined this one up. I'm going to use my, I'm going to pull this off. And I'm going to use my water-soluble Solvay. And this is a topper stabilizer. And this is used, a lot of times people use it for towels or anything with a high pile. Sorry, my arm is like right in the way. But I like to use it for apparel, logo apparel, as well as things like this, because I feel like the finish just makes it way more clean. So this is doing that one. I'll let that go. Meanwhile, I am still working on getting this out of here. So this is called a bean stitch or a run stitch, and it's just straight. So that makes a difference when you're trying to take out the backing. This over here is your blanket stitch. So you see how it's like different ways. It can be a little bit more challenging for pulling these out clean, but we can still do it. You just have to be a little more careful. And of course, I cut my fingernails yesterday, so I don't really have the best. I used to love long fingernails. Like, I used to want my fingernails to be so long, and now I can't even like stand it when they're even just like slightly long. It drives me insane. I just feel like I can't work as well, but I would love to have them like painted or something like that. But who has the time, you know? I mean, I even bought like a gel kit to do it yourself over the holidays from Amazon, and I did it like once, but I did it like without super good lighting, and it looked horrible and very bumpy. So I ended up peeling that off, and I just haven't taken the time to do it again. So yeah, maybe. I was gonna say maybe if we're home and stuff and I can't use my machines, I could do that, but then that would mean I would need electricity. And if I have electricity, I would be working. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it a little bit more. Just pull this fusible no-show up a little bit from from the dress, and we're going to cut around it. I tell people who are like newer to embroidery to cut it this way so that you can see the line of the clothing, and then you're sure you won't cut into it, because there's nothing worse than finishing an item and then cutting into it. It has happened to me, and it is no good. All right, plus this is a thinner dress than I normally have, but it's so cute. You'll see in just a minute that I want to keep, I wanted to put it on here, and the customer chose this. All right, so I'm going to get rid of some trash. This is a new thing that I'm about to show you that I have not done in the past, but I recently saw another embroiderer do it, and I was like, that's a good idea. So what you do is you take a lighter and you just kind of torch these threads that are just hanging out a little bit, and you just like, what it does is similar with ribbon. When you flame the ribbon to keep it from fraying, is that it's locking these stitches, and you just do it like a little bit, just like, here and there, wherever you see. This way you're not like cutting these, and you don't risk snipping a knot, because we have done that, which is a huge pain. After that, this is kind of rough, so I'm going to do the cloud cover on top. So that's another reason why it doesn't matter if it's a little rough. Before I do the cloud cover, I want to make sure that the shirt looks good, or the dress rather, looks good on this side. So I have to trim a few of these threads, clean it up that way. And this design was a customer's idea. It was really cool. She asked if I had any strawberry files, and I was like, I do, and I sent her a few, and she chose this one. And we were going to just do a strawberry, this strawberry. That was the one she chose. But then she was like, can you put a 1 with it, and can you add her name? And I was like, what if we do it like this? So we spelled 1 with the strawberry as the O. She also asked if we could do hearts instead of the black seeds that came with it, which I thought was so cute. This design, since it's a little more like rustic looking, you'll notice there's some outlier fabric, and that's on purpose because of the design of this one. The bean stitch doesn't like lock in the fabric the way that the satin stitch does. I'm going to turn on my iron so I can press this. So I always cut it a little outside, and it looks, just a little more rustic. The other reason why it's important to use the heat and bond light, see how shiny it is? This is actually like a fusible element. So you iron it onto the fabric to prep the fabric, and then you press it onto the garment. And now these letters are going to be sealed to the garment on the front side. And then on the back, I'm going to do the cloud cover like I said. So I'm going to go ahead and get that out. And we'll put that one on. I'm just kind of roughly cutting it to measure before I turn it inside out again. Just like so. So it does not have to be perfect. That was my iron popping, telling me it's almost ready. So then we'll press this, and then we will flip it inside out and press that onto the back, and we'll be finished with this one. Okay, you can see the satin stitch is complete around the 1, and now it's just showing his name. And then this shirt will be ready to clean up and tell the customer that her order is ready. And while we were talking, this also finished. So I'm just going to, what you do is you just like tear it off real fast like that. And then you clean it up later, because you have to get out the extra. Well, that one stopped. I guess we ran out of bobbin. So I'm going to toss this over here, and I'm going to grab another one. We're doing 10 of these for this customer, so we have quite a few. All right, so I have to rotate it back to the way that it was. Boop, boop. These initials are kind of tricky because it's like a P and a J. And so I have to make sure I have it right because I don't want it upside down. So I'm just going to scoot it over. My iron keeps clicking. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm going to make sure it's straight, just like that. And then my peel and stick is coming away over here, so make sure that's secure. Okay, I'm going to see where it's going to sew. Make sure that's what I want. And it is. I can still use the same water-soluble stabilizer that I was using before. I have another little spot that's just the right size. So I'm sticking it to the peel and stick. We'll keep it down. And I'm also going to clip on the frame just so it doesn't bounce too much and so it keeps it stuck on there as well. So nice and smooth. And I can run that now. Okay, I gotta change some bobbin, I believe. Okay, I'm going to press this. I got a dry iron. I have always used steam irons. Let's see. But recently I got a dry iron, and I'll tell you the reason was because, and it's heavy as all get out. I'm going to move you so that I can actually get to it better. Down just a little bit. There you go. Okay. With a steam iron, you've got all those holes, obviously, that the steam comes out. With a dry iron, it's like more like a press, which I do have a few heat presses, but this one is just nice because on the actual inside of the iron, it says what lever number to go to for what you want. And I was reading some stuff about how it's just like a crisper press. And then when you have to clean it, you aren't having to deal with all the holes and what can get inside, because that's how mine is. Like I cleaned it, my steam iron, and it's just like gunky on the inside because I needed to get some glue off of it that was from prepping fabric. So first world probs, but I think this one was around $50 on Amazon, and it is heavy and very, very hot. This is what I'm talking about on the inside, that you choose what you need. But yeah, this thing is major, major hot. I got burned by it last week, and I still have a little bit of a mark right here. It was like super owy. All right, I'm just gonna go over it one more time on this side. Get those down. Now I'm gonna take a picture and send it to the customer. All right, so this one just finished. Da-da-dum. I'm gonna take it off the machine and finish it up and then take a picture for the customer. Okay, so this one, I gotta take off the peel and stick, and that comes off fairly easy. Since this one's a satin stitch, so we've learned all the stitches. Bean stitch, blanket stitch, there's zigzag, satin stitch. So satin stitch is usually easy to get the peel and stick from around. And I like satin stitch probably more than the others just because it's the most like, when you're cutting applique, it's the easiest to cover any like flaws that there could be. So I'm going to get all this out of the, around the letters and everywhere. One thing about this iron is that it just like clicks all the time. And I was downstairs yesterday I had just gotten the girls home from school and I had my laptop downstairs, so I was just working down there, and I kept hearing it clicking, and I was like, oh my gosh, what does that sound? At first I thought it was like my dog's toenails on the on the hardwood, but no, it was my iron. So I came up here and turned it off, which, don't be like me. Always turn off your iron if you leave it, because it is not safe, and especially since this one gets so incredibly hot. But we live and we learn. All right, so now I've got all the peel and stick stabilizer. Jordan, why do you use that if you're just peeling it off? Well, stabilizer always helps to stabilize the garment, and that means that you're not just stitching right onto cotton fabric that is going to be moved or whatever through the process. This is another thing that I learned through Facebook and all the things, asking questions and everything like that. So the stabilizer matters. Now, this is fusible no-show. Fusible no-show is also stabilizer. So fusible no-show, I've talked about it and shared about it before. It has a fusible no-show is like a webbed sort of, you can kind of see like the grid pattern. This helps with any garment you wear, and it helps the design stand up on that garment, and it stabilizes it, reinforces it. On the back of this one, I don't know if it's coming across on the camera. It is in person, but it's got like a shiny, there it is. This is glue. So you have to press fusible no-show onto your item, and that's how you prep it for that. And then peel and stick is what we use on a fast frame or an easy frame, just like this. We put peel and stick, which is basically, it feels like sticker paper, but it is more rigid and it's sticky, and it helps your item stick to that so that it doesn't move or shift in during stitch time. And I always clip it down to the frame because we just have to be extra cautious. Now this design has a few little places that I have to cut. That's why I'm not putting on the fusible or the cloud cover yet, because I don't want to not be able to fix it. So I can fix it from the back, which is really good. I'm going to do that. I'm going to snip these out, and then I'm going to press down the fabric for the one, and then I'm going to put on the cloud cover.